Somalia, you've heard the headlines, but have you heard the hope? Let's start with the backbone of any modern nation: infrastructure. After decades of civil unrest, much of Somalia's physical infrastructure, roads, schools, hospitals, bridges, was either destroyed or left in ruins. This lack of basic public services and connectivity severely stifled economic development, movement of goods, and access to healthcare and education. But the story is changing. Somalia's government, in partnership with regional and global institutions, has launched ambitious efforts to rebuild what was lost. One of the flagship initiatives leading the charge is the Horn of Africa Infrastructure Integration Project. Supported by the African Development Bank, this initiative aims to repair and expand critical transport corridors connecting Somalia to its neighbours, especially Kenya and Ethiopia. These roads are more than just pavement. They are vital arteries of trade, security and mobility. In tandem with this, the Somalia Crisis Recovery Project, backed by the World Bank, is working to restore infrastructure in communities affected by climate disasters and armed conflict. That includes rehabilitating essential facilities like water supply systems, local markets and municipal buildings. In 2024, over 100 kilometers of road were rehabilitated under this program, significantly improving access to remote areas. Why does this matter? Because roads and bridges aren't just concrete and steel, they are connections between people and opportunity. For a country like Somalia, where rural isolation has long been a barrier to growth, improved infrastructure opens doors for farmers, entrepreneurs, students and healthcare providers. Even in cities like Mogadishu, which have seen frequent security issues, you'll now find growing signs of urban renewal. From newly paved roads to solar-powered streetlights, Somalia's cities are slowly reclaiming functionality and pride. These investments are also creating jobs for thousands of Somali workers. Infrastructure development is currently one of the country's biggest employment sectors, offering opportunities not only for skilled labourers but also for young people seeking hope in an often uncertain job market. Of course, challenges remain, especially when it comes to maintaining what's being rebuilt. But with ongoing technical support and community involvement, Somalia is laying down more than roads. It's laying down the foundation for a more connected and resilient society. Let's look at the economic development in Somalia. A nation's infrastructure is just the beginning. Once roads are built and systems are in place, the next step is economic revival. Somalia's economy has started to show consistent growth after years of stagnation. According to the World Bank, Somalia's GDP was projected to grow by around 4% in 2024, a remarkable achievement for a country emerging from decades of crisis. So, what's driving this growth? First, agriculture remains Somalia's economic engine. With about 60% of the population dependent on farming and pastoralism, recent improvements in rainfall and investment in irrigation systems have boosted crop yields and livestock trade. Initiatives aimed at drought-resilient farming have made rural communities more self-sufficient. Second, domestic consumption is rising. Somali businesses, especially small and medium enterprises, are seeing increased demand for goods and services. In cities like Hargeisa, Bosaso and Mogadishu, markets are bustling, construction is picking up, and young entrepreneurs are launching new ventures, from clothing brands to mobile money platforms. One of the most significant economic breakthroughs came in 2023, when Somalia reached the heavily indebted Poor Countries Initiative completion point. This achievement allowed Somalia to receive over $4.5 billion in debt relief from the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank and other lenders. That's not just financial breathing room, it's a historic reset. With this debt relief, the Somali government can now redirect funds towards critical public services like education, healthcare and social protection, instead of paying off interest on decades-old loans. It also boosts investor confidence, making Somalia a more attractive destination for international businesses and donors. One of the clearest signs of modernization is Somalia's digital leap. In early 2024, Hormuz Telecom, the country's largest telecommunications company, launched 5G services in Mogadishu. This isn't just about faster internet, it's about unlocking digital banking, e-learning, telemedicine, and remote work possibilities that were previously out of reach for most Somalis. Mobile money platforms like EVC Plus are already revolutionizing commerce in the country, with over 70% of the population using mobile payment systems in daily life. In fact, Somalia has one of the most advanced mobile money penetration rates in Africa, surpassing even countries with more stable political environments. Somalia's central bank has also made notable strides in regulatory reform, improving transparency and stabilizing the Somali shilling. For the first time in decades, the country has begun issuing new banknotes to combat inflation and counterfeit currency, further cementing public trust in the formal banking system. Yet it's not just about big tech or national policy. In local communities, youth-led business accelerators, women's cooperatives and diaspora-funded startups are all contributing to a more vibrant, inclusive economy. Every small business that opens its doors is a step away from dependence and a move towards sustainability. The road to long-term prosperity is still long, but Somalia is no longer waiting passively for change. It's building the future, one step at a time. Now, infrastructure and economic growth are critical pieces of the puzzle, but they're not enough on their own. A key force behind Somalia's progress has been international cooperation and foreign aid, which have helped stabilize the country during tough times and are now supporting its path to self-sufficiency. How is international aid helping Somalia? As we dive deeper into Somalia's journey, it becomes clear that no nation builds success in isolation. International aid and partnerships have played an essential role in stabilizing Somalia and fueling its progress. For decades, Somalia relied heavily on humanitarian assistance to meet basic needs like food, shelter, and medical care. While the country is steadily moving towards self-reliance, external support remains a lifeline for millions, especially amid ongoing crises. In 2024 alone, the European Union allocated €40 million specifically for humanitarian programs in Somalia. These funds have targeted critical areas such as food security, health services and education, sectors where gaps could otherwise trigger setbacks. For instance, EU-supported projects have provided nutrition aid to thousands of children suffering from malnutrition and have helped rebuild schools damaged by conflict or natural disasters. The United Nations also continues to maintain a significant presence in Somalia. Agencies like the World Food Programme and UNICEF are actively involved in emergency food distribution, vaccination campaigns and water sanitation efforts. Their work helps bridge immediate needs while complementing long-term development strategies. Yet despite this valuable assistance, challenges remain. Over the past few years, major donors like the United States have reduced their aid budgets for Somalia. In 2023 and 2024, significant cuts to US humanitarian funding strained efforts on the ground, affecting millions who rely on consistent aid to survive. This shift has sparked concern among aid agencies about how to maintain essential services without interruption. However, Somalia's government and civil society have responded by strengthening local capacity and encouraging diaspora engagement. The Somali diaspora, millions of Somalis living abroad, has become a powerful force for development. Through remittances, investments and knowledge sharing, these communities contribute an estimated over $2 billion annually back home, making up one of the largest financial inflows into the country. Moreover, Somalia is forging new international partnerships beyond traditional donors. Countries like Turkey, Qatar and China have increased their investments in infrastructure, education and health. These collaborations bring not only financial support, but also technical expertise and long-term development frameworks. For example, Turkey has helped build hospitals and universities in Mogadishu, raising healthcare standards and expanding educational opportunities. Similarly, China is involved in port development and road construction projects that enhance trade capacity and regional integration. Together, these partnerships underscore a shift toward a more diversified and sustainable development model, one that balances aid with trade, investment, and diplomatic engagement. While there is cause for optimism, Somalia's path forward is far from smooth. The country faces several complex and interrelated challenges that require both immediate action and visionary leadership. One of the most pressing issues is climate change. Somalia's location in the Horn of Africa makes it especially vulnerable to extreme weather patterns, frequent droughts, flash floods, and erratic rainfall. These climate shocks threaten agricultural productivity, water supplies, and ultimately food security. In 2024, reports estimated that nearly 4.8 million Somalis required nutrition support due to the effects of prolonged droughts combined with ongoing conflict. These conditions exacerbate hunger and displacement, creating cycles of hardship that are difficult to break. To build resilience, Somalia has been adopting innovative agricultural practices, such as drought-resistant crop varieties and improved irrigation techniques. Projects supported by the Food and Agriculture Organization and other partners are also helping pastoralist communities manage rangeland more sustainably. Climate adaptation is not just about farming, however. Urban areas are beginning to develop early warning systems for floods, improve water storage facilities, and promote renewable energy sources like solar power, which reduce dependence on vulnerable fuel imports. Security remains another major hurdle. Although the government has made strides in stabilizing many regions, militant groups such as Al-Shabaab still pose threats, especially in rural and border areas. These security challenges complicate development efforts and discourage foreign investment. Addressing security requires a multifaceted approach, strengthening Somali security forces, fostering political reconciliation, and involving communities in peace-building. International support continues to be vital here, but Somalia's leaders are increasingly calling for homegrown solutions that reflect local realities. Political instability is closely tied to these security concerns. Somalia's federal system is still evolving, and tensions between the central government and regional states occasionally flare up. Effective governance and transparent institutions are needed to maintain cohesion and prevent fragmentation. Despite these challenges, Somalia's commitment to its national development plan is a beacon of hope. The NDP outlines priorities such as economic diversification, infrastructure expansion, human capital development, and environmental sustainability. It serves as a roadmap guiding government policy and international cooperation alike. One promising sign is the increasing involvement of youth and women in political and economic spheres. New voices are emerging, pushing for reforms and greater inclusivity. Organizations dedicated to empowering marginalized groups are gaining traction, helping to shift Somalia's social landscape. Somalia's story is one of remarkable resilience. From the depths of decades-long conflict and instability, the country is slowly but surely charting a new course, one defined by rebuilding, renewal, and hope. We've seen how rebuilding infrastructure reconnects communities and boosts economic activity. We've explored how economic recovery, fueled by agriculture, mobile technology, and debt relief, is creating opportunities for millions. We've understood the critical role of international aid and partnerships while acknowledging the challenges of climate change, security, and political stability. This journey is far from over, and obstacles remain significant. But the trajectory is clear. Somalia is on the rise, driven by determination, strategic planning, and a growing sense of national unity. If you found this deep dive into Somalia's transformation insightful, please take a moment to like this video, share it with friends, and subscribe to the channel. There are many more stories from around the world about resilience, recovery, and growth waiting to be told. Thank you for watching.